An anxiety. An anxiety is the poem composed by A.K.Ramanujan, an Indo-Anglian poet. An anxiety is a highly praised poem of A.K. Ramanujan. We can say that it is one of the popular poem of his first collection of poems or first volume titled The Striders. The language of this poem is very simple and ordinary words are used in day to day conversation which we always use. Though sometimes the concept may be complex to few students or to few readers because the whole poem is full of similes and metaphors. Now the poet here he speaks of the nature of an anxiety which is really very hard to describe. We can means an anxiety we can say that it is an anxiety is mysterious, it is very dark, it is very terrifying, and it has no shape, it has no fixed movement. So in this way, with the help of similes, with the help of metaphor, A.K. Ramanujan he has tried his best to describe what an anxiety is. And throughout the poem, he also tries to tell us that fear and an anxiety both are different. Okay, we cannot take an anxiety for fear. An anxiety has been compared here with a tree. Fear, tree. So, fear and an anxiety both are very different. So, not branchless as the fear tree, it has naked roots and secret twigs, not geometric as the parables of hope. It has loose ends with a knot at the top. That's me. Okay, that's me. So in this stanza we find here also personal note, autobiographical note. Not branchless as the fear tree, but it has means an anxiety is not branchless. It has many branches, means it has a continuous progress. It keeps growing, it keeps advancing, it keeps increasing with the passage of time or day by day, and there is no stoppage of it. We cannot prevent it, we can never come to know that how long it is going, how much it is increasing as the fear tree. And it has naked roots, it has secret twigs, because we never, it is very mysterious, it is very dark, and we never come to know that how much growth it has taken. Not geometric as the parables, this means that it is shapeless. Okay, there is no shape, there is no movement of hope. And now the anxiety has been compared with hope, but it has loose ends, that is with a knot at the top. So it is very mysterious, it is very secret, and there is no solution of it, because we cannot come to the end of an anxiety. And of an anxiety we don't know from where we have to start and where we have to end, because the end is very, it has loose ends, means it is very naughty. Okay, it is very naughty because there are too much knot at both sides and it takes time to lose them. So with the knot at the top, and that's me. So in only these 6 lines he he tries to describe an anxiety. He's trying his best to describe it, and with the help of or with the use of literary tools, that is using figure of speech, mainly similes and metaphors. So the poet A.K. Ramanujan he bounces a metaphorical phrase when he uses this word fear. Okay, fear tree as a source of fear, to suggest that an anxiety and fear are not exactly the same, means an anxiety is different and fear is also different. There is too much difference between both. Fear is in a form of dread, whereas an anxiety can have extensions of concern or tension which can have multiple modes branchless, okay, branchless, because it has secret tweaks. When we use this word secret tweaks, this means that an anxiety can have, not can have, it has multiple modes, and through which it affect the individual, because we never come to know from where it starts, but it keeps growing inside of our mind. So an anxiety is a state of mind, and an anxiety is just like a tree, but unlike the fear tree, okay. An anxiety is just like a tree. It has root, it has branch, it has twig, but we cannot make a comparison of an anxiety with fear, because it is very different from fear. Fear unlike the fear tree, it has naked roots, it has secret twig. So its origin may be guessed, but its twigs or growth and its final evolution is unknown. You can see the branch of an anxiety, you can see its root, but the twigs are secret, though they can be seen very well. But the source, the origin of an anxiety can never be guessed, right? Can never be guessed, because the evolution of an anxiety is always unknown, is always very mysterious. So A.K. Ramanujan suggests that there is no predictability about an anxiety, when it starts, or what is the source of it, or how it is started, how you became a victim of it, you never come to know, because there is no time of an anxiety. It may come at any time, it may come at any age, and hope on the other hand can only be there, right? Of hope can only be there in opposition to, or in opposition to an anxiety, not geometric as the parabols of hope. So hope cannot be conceived without an anxiety, but an anxiety doesn't follow any pattern, it doesn't follow any design, okay. There is no pattern, or there is no structure, or there is no design of an anxiety. Means it has no movement, it has no shape, it is even branchless, so it is shapeless, and it is just like fixed, we can say, because we don't find any kind of design, pattern or structure of an anxiety. So just look at these lines, that how much attempt is being made by the poet to describe what an anxiety is. So it is very complex, and an anxiety is of course very complicated, because it never come to know what exactly an anxiety is. So Ramanujan, he contrasts this quality of an anxiety, and with the free flowing nature of hope, okay. Then first he made the comparison with fear tree, and later with hope. So hope for him is represented by the open ended loops, that is open ended loop, just like curve of a parabols. So the possibilities that hope may lead to is seen positively here, and here we find a personal note, an autobiographical note. That's me. This means that he himself was also suffering from an anxiety, and there was also a conflict within the poet, okay. And here we find that A.K. Ramanujan is expressing here his own experience too, based on an anxiety. Not wakeful in its white snake. So such, just look at the beautiful imagery used by A.K.Ramanujan, fear tree, secret twigs, parables, geometric loose ends, and here white is snake. Such a beautiful word he has used here, that not wakeful in its white is snake. Okay, white snake. Snake is always very poisonous, and it is very dangerous. But an anxiety just like a glassy vase, not wakeful in its white snake, glassy vase like the eloping gaiety of waters. Okay, gaiety of waters, again important. It dresses, vicious and fibered as pitch. Flames have only lungs, water is all eyes, the earth has bone for muscle, and the air is a flock of invisible pigeon. Invisible pigeon. Pigeons are always a symbol of hope, a symbol of peace. But an anxiety can find no metaphor to and it. So in this stanza he has used a lot of images, invisible pigeon, gaiety of waters, white snake, and that is another one was flames have only lungs, right? Now not wakeful in its white snake. So A.K. Ramanujan, he has tried to paint the nature of an anxiety, which is really very hard. It is a very difficult work to present what an anxiety is. An anxiety is a complex and abstract psycho-human phenomena. So here he, in various unusual as well as innovative similes and similes and metaphors, he, in order to overcome this difficulty, he tries to describe the state of an anxiety, but he feels his own inability, and he doesn't give us any solution. He doesn't tell us the treatment of it, how we can come out of it. We understand very well that the poet, he is able to understand complex emotions, but the problem is here that we don't find any cure of such emotions, any solutions to these kinds of problem. So here he again here uses a few more literary phrases to explore the nature and status of an anxiety. He compares this condition with the joyous feeling of lovers when they elope and look forward to a future full of hope. Not wakeful, its white snake, glassy, weighs like the eloping gaiety of waters. When he uses this phrase gaiety of waters, this means that an anxiety, it moves very slowly. Okay, it moves very slowly. We never come to know when or how it enters our mind. Vixus, it drowses, means the person who is suffering from an anxiety is just like as if he or she is drowsing. It is an anxiety is half asleep, means it makes you just like half dead, half asleep, because you never come to know the reality. You never want to know what is going on with you. Viscous and fibered as pitch, and it is sticky. Sticky, that is it has thick consistency, that is often quite sticky. An anxiety is complex, it is knotty, and it is not glassy. Okay, it is not glassy, it is not clear and active like flowing water. A flowing water is always as clear, just like, or it is just like a crystal. It is always very transparent. But an anxiety, there is nothing clear in an anxiety, because it never flows smoothly. It comes very slowly. Flames have only lungs. Flames have only lungs. Only the person who is suffering from an anxiety can feel it, because throughout the night, throughout the day, he or she always goes through the fire, and the fire is always kept in the heart. Means an anxiety burns in the heart. It can burn a human being lively. Means a person who is suffering from an anxiety is just like a dead body, because there is a lot of fire in his or in her heart. Means we can say that it flows lazily along a thick fluid, and an anxiety has no metaphor. It has no metaphor to explain or resolve it, as it has no fixed shape, it has no definite movement, it has only loose end. Okay, it has only loose ends which come to a knot inside, not inside the poet's mind. So, like flute, like a thick tar, it is sluggish, it is very sticky, and therefore it is always dark, mysterious, and very frightening. Flames have only lungs. It refers to the fire that needs air to sustain. Water is all eyes. It refers to the fact that water needs channels to flow. Both this and the image of the flames are used for the enhancement of the effect. And the air is a flock of invisible pigeon. Invisible, okay? That is pigeon. Pigeon is a symbol of both. Pigeon is a symbol of hope, of peace. But that hope is invisible. That hope is unseen. It is mysterious, because it is pigeon. They are always in the air, and hope is also in the air. A person who is in an anxiety can never see, can never find any hope. So that this phrase we can see here, and the air is a flock of invisible pigeons. It refers to the fact that an anxiety is always in contrast, with hope. The potential for hope is always there, but it is not really known. The pigeon is a symbol of hope, and though it is in the air, therefore it is not visible to the anxious mind or to the person who is suffering from an anxiety. So, this poem, when we come to all these points, we come to know Ramanujan's own anxiety. And no doubt that this poem presents very complex, very complicated images. He uses very hard simile or metaphor to be understood. But there are also some autobiographical elements, and through this poem we also see poet's own gloomy temperament, his inner, that's to me, his inner fears, his inner anxieties, and imagery, of course, is used very complicated, very difficult, and the concept seems sometimes very complex, though he uses words to convey his meaning, and he tries to use very fewest words. This is why that it is a very short poem. So his style of writing is free verse, but these lines are full of internal rhyme, okay? And there is a lot of use of similes and metaphor. So this was the anxiety poem of A.K. Ramanujan, and the brief of this poem is according to A.K. Ramanujan that anxiety is very secretive, it is very mysterious, it is very dark to understand. Each and every object can be defined, can be visualized, can be expressed, can be seen very well, but not an anxiety. An anxiety can never be defined, can never be expressed, can never be, it can never be seen, but it is only felt and it is only experienced. So that was an anxiety, much more complicated.